I promise y'all I'm here. There we go. All right, so as you can see, this has been a morning. I know I promised you guys there was going to be a new intro this morning, but there has been some technical difficulties. But the new intro is fire. I really, really love it. Like you can see it on my phone. It just won't load up there yet. And it tried to load at some point during this episode, and that's why we didn't come through. So, but we're here. And we're not going to be here too long. I did wanted to continue to go on with today's show, although I am super, super excited about what Jay is doing over on Instagram today for USARK. So after we all leave here, we definitely want you guys to go over, and if you haven't already support Jay in his efforts. We got to see him to eat the worms before we started this episode, but this was something I still wanted to do today, but I do not want to take away anything that's going over on Instagram right now today. So I want to make sure I put this on the table, and let's not forget that we are supporting USARK Florida today on Instagram. Jay from Jay's Reptiles is doing an awesome job already. He is committed, guys, to do 36 hours in his outdoor reptile enclosure. A lot of fun things going on. I had to cut out, of course, early to prepare for this show, but immediately after, I will be going over there. And my intent is, y'all know I like to sleep when I want to sleep, but to hang out with him as much as possible, even if it means I have to take brief naps in between. So that's the goal here. So thank you to everyone that's in the chat. Hey, John. Hey, Holly. Hey, Elias. Hey, Dre. Oh, Dre had time for us today, so he came out to hang out with the regular old folks today. Hey, Dre. Any surprise Instagrams this week? Let us know about them on Monday on Two Peas in a Podcast. Hey, Chantel, how are you? Also, we do have a new sponsor video that will be definitely ready by next week. It's actually ready now that we can just load it, but I do want to point out that one of my sisters is the sponsor for this month, sponsored by Sadies. And Mercedes actually does the belly beads. She does bracelets. She does the necklaces as well. I have quite a few of her pieces here. She can also do specific reptile charms for you. My very first one was customized for my 45th birthday. And she customized it for the color I wanted. She customized it with the charms that I wanted, which were reptile related. So I had the matching necklace, the bracelets, and the belly beads. So if you like to accentuate that area, definitely hit her up. And it's for all sizes and shapes. She makes them very, very appealing for all. So definitely check out her website. Check out on Instagram at Beaded by Sadies. And you can also check her out on Facebook. And then, of course, you know, our normal Maryland Reptile Farm, who is our local DMV, longest term established reptile show in the area. And they are constant supporters of the channel, and I'm constant supporters of them. Actually, it's a show going on right now today in Habited Grace. And they are sponsoring a show somewhere every single week. And I love that about them as well. So today I wanted to just touch on the topic. I kind of like to, this topic kind of stemmed from a conversation with a friend in the reptile community about establishing your business. This is not going to be I'm not an accountant, although I did financial management for many, many years. I'm great at managing other people's businesses, and I've learned to be great at mine. And that's kind of like what the topic is going to be. I was asked the question, did I regret making the decision? And I can say it 115% over and over again. And Dre knows this because we joke about it all the time. Like, I have no intent on ever going back to work for anybody else full time, and that I reached that pinnacle in my life that this is going to be what I commit myself full time to. And saying that, it means a commitment. So I could not make life decisions and say, oh, well, I'm committed if this happens, or I'm committed if that happens, right? When I established the business, and keeping in mind, for those of you who are not aware, I kept reptiles for 30 years before I decided in 2021 that says, okay, I'm definitely at that point I want to breed. I definitely know that at that particular point that I wanted to establish it as a business. I had no idea that 2 years later I would have been making that decision to make it full time, because my goals was 5 years from 2021, but God goals was 2022, and so therefore I roll with his, and it's working just fine for me, and I'm enjoying that so much. But when I think about the reason why I'm able to be this comfortable, this excited, and this happy is that I want everybody to keep in mind that we're not all entering this place in the same space. I often share that I had no more babies, so I have no more daycare money, so I can spend all the kind of money that I want to spend on animals, enclosures, genetics, all of that. I had it. So the next person, though, might have 3 children in daycare. And you guys know what daycare costs. So where it looks like one person is living lavishly, the other person is bringing in, maybe the same income, but their expenses is deviated out to more important things. All of my important things are pretty much settled in life. I got grown kids, I got grandchildren who it would just never be a no to them. Like that's what I do so much for, is them and their future. But I say that it's still important to establish your businesses, guys. So remember that everything that we do in the reptile community is a reflection of legality. So we're talking about USARK. Why we fighting so much for our animals? We're fighting for the safety of us being able to keep our animals, right? We're fighting that constantly. But the reason why we have to fight so much, the reason why Jay is going to be stuck in his reptile enclosure for 36 hours instead of a beach in Florida is because things that we do incorrectly or wrong in the community will affect the laws that is placed upon us. So if there's an established entity such as Morph Market, and I don't know, for those of you who have established your Morph Market account, I know when I established mine in 2021, one of the things I had to do was upload documents that my business was legitimate, which I think is smart of John, and who was running Morph Market at that time, because if we're going to be operating as a business like selling animals, that is according to the United States of America, when you sell and trade for cash, that is a business. That's actually, you're making a financial transaction, and y'all know our government wants to record everything. But we do a lot of things on the table. Like, people do a lot of things under the table. When it comes to the reptile community, though, I think it's important that we do things legit. Now, if you're a hobbyist, that's what you do. You're not expecting any tax benefits from a business or anything like that, because you just do it for a hobby. That's different. But when you start to say, I am going to be trading and selling animals for cash consistently, it then becomes a business, and it should be established as one. And it's not difficult to do. I can say in the state of Maryland, I was able to establish the business name, the entity, and I was also able to trademark it all in one step. Now, I know there's some states that don't allow you to do that, so you want to check, but I can tell you that as the steps of you establishing your business in the state of Maryland, the second step is that they will highly suggest it, is that you take that moment to protect your trade too. So that's your name. So when you're putting your logos out here and things like that, we were laughing so hard because Spicy Noodles Exotics, which is one of the usual suspects, had a shirt on Amazon that literally, if you did not catch it, looked just like his trademark, like looked just like Spicy Noodles Exotics being sold on Amazon. But if you don't trademark that business name, then that can happen. People can utilize the name and establish it, and you just have no rights to it. Although your business is named Lady Tiz Exotics, you have to also protect the trademark of the name. And all states don't, like I said, give you that in one step. It's two different costs. I think I paid $375 to establish the business, but then it was, or $325 for the business, and then it was like $75 or $125 for the actual establishment of the trade. So that is important. The other part of it is that the first thing that people look at when something does happen legally is when they start to dive into the person who had the 100 snakes, the 200 snakes. The first thing is that they determine, was this a legally established entity? And when it's not, it makes what we go through in the reptile community a whole lot more difficult and harder. So number one, to be taken seriously, because I think that if you were going to say that, this is a hobby that we want to see around for a very long time. Hey, Ron, we got to do things appropriately in order for that to not be threatened. It's kind of like we was talking about on Two Pieces of the Podcast, policing yourselves. Like, we have to consciously police ourselves to make sure that, yes, does it cost me every year? Like just last week, I had to do my yearly reporting of my Maryland tax business license and all that stuff. And you pay the money, again, you got to pay the state. Yes, but I also can write that off federally. So it's not a bad thing. And if you establish a business, it's so much that you can write off, that if you're doing what you're supposed to do appropriately, like one of the things that once you establish a business, you have to start recording. You have to find some type of bookkeeping system. So for me, it was easier for me to work with my accountant to have QuickBooks. So my accountant can access my whatever transactions they need to see at any time, as much as I can as well. If he logs in, I can see that he's logged in. If I log in, he can see that I'm logged in. If there's a transaction that is not, I guess, coded, because I have the right. So I chose, when I established mine, because I am a person who protect my finances, like I'm very protective of that. I'm not a person that's going to give it to anybody and say, hey, I trust you. I'm just not that girl. And I have a financial background. So what I would do is I will go through my QuickBooks, every time I swipe my credit card, be it my business card, and that's another thing that I would recommend, is that you do have a whole separate business card. But sometimes, let's say, for instance, you're somewhere and it's just not convenient for you to have your business card, or you don't have it with you, or whatever the case may be, and I swipe my regular card. I link every card that I possibly would use, even like my Venmo accounts or anything where transactions come in or transactions go out, to my QuickBooks, and then that way I can allocate them daily. Like, so as I'm using my cards, I come home at night and I literally can say supplies, office expense, marketing, receive promotions, whatever. If cash received for a sponsorship, I note that that's actually income that came into the business, and it's all there. And at any given point in QuickBooks, if someone needs a statement of profit and loss, and I had yet actually filed my taxes, we still have record of that at every given time, because we actually reconcile it with QuickBooks at the end of every month. So that's just a quick cheap. I pay $30 a month for QuickBooks. It gives me everything that I need for my accountant to be able to just extract information and go ahead and process my taxes when he needs to. It opens up a line of communication if there's something that's questioned, like maybe if I accidentally coded something to marketing that probably was office supplies or office expense, he would question that, and that way we can reconcile those things before we get to filing our taxes at the IRS, which for me, that is the most stressful thing. If you do not hire someone to help you with your books, because what you don't want is to open yourself to an audit. And like I said, a lot of people, even when they open to an audit, it's not that they are not doing things legitimately. They are. Just that they may not have kept things organized as much as they needed to in order to get through that audit. And so therefore, sometimes they'll just get into the audit and end up paying additional penalties and things that they necessarily shouldn't have to pay if they just kept the proper bookkeeping. Is it tough sometimes, like keeping like being involved in your financial, yes. Like I wish I was a person who can trust somebody and say, here's all the receipts. Like I did that for somebody for a long time. They brought all the receipts to me, and that's what I did. I just kept their books together for them. I, for me, still want to see, because you guys hear horror stories. Now, I'm not rich, like, I'm no basketball player or anything like that, but you hear things about people who have a lot of money. I don't care if it's $2 or if it's 200,000 or if it's 2 million. I want to see what is being coded. And I always think of the story of Steve Harvey. He talks about he trusted his accountant, and he one day found out that he owed millions to the federal government. And his thing was, well, I didn't know. Well, you were signing these forms, you were endorsing these forms. So if you didn't review what that person put in these forms, then you are held accountable for whatever that penalty is, or in some cases, in his case, because of the amount, it could have been actual jail. He just was blessed by God to be able to find means to dig out of that and work it out where he was able to pay that off really, really quickly, and that was just a blessing. Most of us won't be in that situation. The other part, I think, of owning your business and properly recording it that I think really helps is to see where you are in your actual liability. Like, how much am I spending on this? How much am I spending on that? What is the average cost of a rat? What is the average cost to house a reticulated python for a month? And it helps you keep that data, because you're tracking all of these things. You can just easily just go into that same QuickBooks and request that data. Like, what is my average cost on rodent supplies? And that can calculate that for you. So it kind of helps you keep yourself in a business mind, because when you say it becomes a business, you do become an accountant, pretty much. You are tracking, and then you want to make sure that your business is profitable. You want to make sure that you're not putting out more than you actually going to get in. Because an important thing too is when you start up a business is that first 3 years, you're normally spending. You're not normally bringing income in for the most part in this type of business, for the most part, unless your plan was a little different and your strategy was different. I knew for me that I was going to grow up animals before I started selling animals on Morph Market, and so therefore you get that grace period where those credits of all your expenses can actually be credited towards the your business expenses and your business taxes. But then at a certain point that expires. So you want to make sure that you are focusing on the plan so you can start bringing in income in at least year 3, so that you can benefit from some of those expenses that you may have had. Even if you didn't establish the business when you quote unquote started the business, you can still, if you documented it, like kept the transactions recorded and things like that, you can still file them under your business taxes, even if the business wasn't established in your very first year. And that was something I did not know until I think it was like the 2nd year, but I kept record of everything anyway, because it's certain expenses that I could have written off, period. But being established as a business, there were so many different things that I had the opportunity to benefit from. And then, like it's always said, some of us are planning to make some good money over the years. It may not be this year, it might not be next year. It's going to come to a point where you're going to be making quite a bit of money, and you're going to want tax breaks. You're going to want those to be able to assist you in the amount of debt that you owe to taxes. I can tell you for years I had, as a regular working person, I haven't seen a refund in years. It's always me and my husband have to cut checks for $6,000, $12,000, and we just have to find ways to play with retirement and different things like that so we can get tax breaks. But once you start doing your own business, there's no one sitting there who's actually saying, okay, Nicole, well, if you are hiring the appropriate people, it is. But if you're not, no one is saying, hey, Nicole, you just earned $5,000, 27% of that you need to allocate and separate and pay out into taxes. Typically, people are just bringing in the money and they spending it. They bring it in and spend it. You have to think about that. Somebody said, well, how would they know? Well, if you're selling animals on Morph Market, it's the reason why Morph Market is required to ask you for their document of showing that you're a legitimate business. they get audited too. I will always tell people that at work when people would say, well, why do the company have to do this, that, and the other with bonuses and things like that as far as taxes? Well, the company gets audited too. So as much as that owner may want to just give you that check tax-free, he can't, because when he get audited and someone asks him, well, what was these payments out to these employees for? And he was like, oh, they were Christmas bonuses. Are these your payroll employees? Yes. Well, this is payroll dollars and they're supposed to be taxed 42%. Like he can't or she can't avoid that. So it's all about just, like I said, doing things legitimately. It ties all into what, like I said, what Jay is going through right now, what we go through constantly. You don't want to add anything like that drives a flag on what we do as a business. We have enough flags upon us, I feel, to be honest. And then some people, it's just that, hey, they just feel like it's a lot of work. And I can tell you, I hate paperwork, so I had to do it all the time. It wasn't. I did everything online. I think that particular night, it took me all of 30 minutes maybe, and that was just because I was a little confused on maybe some of the questioning. I can't say what was great about Maryland at that particular time is that they had someone who was actually online that can help you decide how to answer each question if you got caught up on like the wording on one of the questions, for example. But I can tell you in a nutshell, it has been worth every single benefit to establish the business. I think also it helps you look at your spending differently. Like if this was just a hobby, I don't think I would have the support to just spend the kind of money that I spend. Whereas though it's a thought process of I'm investing in this animal, opposed to just buying this animal, as we have some of our other pets are, they're just animals that were bought because we love the animal, no financial investment into it or at all. Then when it comes to making tough decisions, is it my time? Like maybe should I come out of this or should I come out of that? I think sometimes when you see things on paper and you looking at the detail analytically, you make better decisions, right? Because we've seen a lot of people this year who came out and then wish they did already, or people who came out and just maybe, realized they wasn't making the money they was making 2 years ago. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to make the money 2 years from now. And so just keeping those mindsets, I think when you're in a business realm, because again, loss is also something that you get credit for, from a government perspective. If you're actually functioning your business as you should be as a business, you can actually, your profit and loss is both looked at, and it's a tax benefit to your losses sometimes. So opposed to you just taking a loss and you don't have, no write-off, no percentage of that money can be returned to you. It's just not smart to do it that way. So a lot of people, if they ask, is it hard? No, not at all. I think that the hardest part is finding that person you can trust or that business official that you can trust to help you out. Elijah said, can you trademark your logo and name before? So I don't know if you can. I'm going to say it was a second step in Maryland. So I don't know, like in, maybe the state you in, you can. I can tell you in Maryland, you have to establish the business first and then trademark the logo and the name. That's okay, Darlene. I saw you in the chat earlier when I was getting set up. QB. Yes, it is, Chantel. Actually, and I think it teaches you a lot too. Oh, another thing that I was horrible at is like when I go to reptile shows and stuff like that, I would never track the mileage, or if I had to go pick up rodents, which for me is 45 minutes away, when I was having to go more often. Now that I do my own rodents, I don't go as much, but there's still times that when I go get rabbits, I have to drive 45 minutes to meet my breeder, my feeder breeder. And I would never remember to do the mileage. And if I did, I would have to go back to the receipts of the date to say, okay, this was the day I went there, and that's how I have to go and manually calculate it. But in QuickBooks, you can keep your location on, and you can actually have it automate your mileage. So, and then when you come back, just like I was saying, I come back and I go through my receipts at night. I'll come back and I'll look to see which trips were reptile related or related to the business, and then you can code them as well. And I thought that was pretty cool too for only $30 a month. And that's I don't even know, it could be another premium package or something like that. I pay the one that's $30 a month. That one works just great for me and my account. And like I said, he can go in and see anything he needs to see as well. And again, if you ever get audited, you can just pull the data from those books. It has the accounts that it tracks it from the account all the way to where it hit the general ledger, exactly what the IRS would need. And you just provide that to them. And if, you know, of course, none of us perfect. I'm sure it's probably something that I forgot to enter, you know, but if anything, it wouldn't be on the income side, which is more of what the IRS care about, right? It was more likely I forget things sometimes, like if I stopped at a PetSmart to get crickets opposed to go to a show to get crickets. Like I forget stuff like that. So what I started to do is have a lot of my receipts automated to me instead of getting them printed. So I can just, like, when I'm just trying to reconcile, I can just type in my email PetSmart and it will pull up anything for PetSmart receipts, and I can filter out the dog food from, you know, anything else that we did for the business. Know your yearly overhead, then add 10% for, okay, hold on, make sure I can get that so y'all can see that clearly. Okay. Know your yearly overhead, then add 10% for all flex costs in the year to be safe. Yep. Yep. And then I would just say, like, overall too, I mean, I know me and Justin talk about you know, business things a lot. Like, I think overall for me, it does nothing feels wasted, right? So if we spend $10,000 in a month, on paper, I can always see the value of what I spent. Oh, this was $2,500 for a rack. And you can see how it's broken down. That's something I like about QuickBooks. This was the cost of the rack, and this is how much was to ship the rack. I can go back and tell you how much it was to ship an enclosure 2 years ago just by looking at that data compared to how much it is shipping now. And those are all the things, going to what Justin said, that you want to take into account. Your vendors increases year over year, like their costs, because you want to make sure that if you were 2 years ago when you established the business, shipping was $300 and now it's now $400. That shipping went up like significantly, you know, almost 30%. So you want to make sure that you are actually calculating that as well. That's what it all, for me, that's what's taking your business seriously. And I think that in that mindset, like even for me, people always talk about the money I'll give away. I give away the money because I want to give it away, but it's also a benefit as well. Like, it's not good to hold on when you own a business to most of the money, to be honest. I'm not gonna say most of it, you know what I mean? But a lot of it, you have to give at least 20% of it away in order for it to make business sense once you start making the money, if that makes sense. So one of the things, and even we did this for when I worked for, you know, someone else, that was one of the things that we were required. We were required to work with our teams to find charities and different ways to donate money. One is great marketing. One is also, you know, for great causes. Another thing is that I'm sure for that business as well, they needed us to donate money to help them on their side. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are trying to make it seem like being wealthy and managing your own business or making money is a bad thing. If you are alive and the goal is, now I don't think nobody should work their butt off to make any kind of money, but if you're doing something that you enjoy and you're doing this out of enjoyment, but out of that, you can also benefit from it financially and for the future of your family, it is nothing wrong with that. If you have found out legal ways, just like other people have done with the government for years, to pass off taxes, is nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. But it is something wrong if you are in America and you're not filing taxes. I do have an issue with that. I've always said that. I think that we are required to do the right thing, and then work with the law to get the tax breaks that make sense for you and your family. So that was it on that. I do want to remind you all that to support the USARK Florida, to go to Instagram and to support Jay, who's doing an awesome job right now. Hey, Wayne and Alice. Hey, Roll 5.0. Roll 5.0. This, I like the way that sounds. Roll 5.0. How are you doing, Wayne and Alice? How's everything? Are you settled? Hey, Ken, I didn't see you come in. Hey, Kenny. So yeah, I want to make sure that you all go and we support Jay over on Instagram. He is doing an amazing job. I did want to share this with you. We already made, so when I left, he had already made the 1,000 milestone. We made sure that happened. We got to watch him eat the mealworms. But he did. He didn't spit anything out, anything. And then at $3,000, I don't know. I will find out shortly where they are. They will eat hot pepper. He will eat hot peppers. At $5,000, which y'all, we will make $5,000. 5 wax strips. 5,000 is easy for this awesome group of people. And then we have at 7,000, he is going to nose hair wax. Ooh, I don't know what that one was. I think I missed that one. So he is going to eat nose hair and wax. I hope not. But let's get there, because what I do want to see is all the things that he has to do. I definitely, y'all, I'm like a big kid. I want to make sure that he does it. And then 8,000, he's going to have to wear a bikini. And then 10,000, he cuts off all his amazing hair. Please support. First of all, if you guys don't know, Jay has a medical condition himself where he suffers from epilepsy. The fact that he's dedicating himself 36 hours outside of the comfort of his own home, I don't know how he's going to stay awake all of that time. Please make sure you go over there, that you hang over in the chat as much as you can to support him in USARK Florida. What happens in USARK Florida is a pinnacle of what will happen anywhere else. If you can best believe, if it happens there, it will happen here or wherever you are. They want to use that as a model. So we want to make sure we continue to support them. It's amazing that already he's made his first goal. I just, the best I can do, because I'm not in Florida, is to commit from here to try to hang out with them. So I'm gonna get some wine, maybe some crabs and stuff like that, and just kind of like hang out with them over. And then, I gotta take my old lady laps in between. But I promise you, out of the 36 hours, I should be in there with him at least, let's say, in the chat. I'm not talking about on screen, because I'll be looking crazy about 2 in the morning. So if it's 36, I'm gonna need at least 2 to 3. So yes, I would say at least about 26 of those hours I should be able to hang in the chat. And it's fine. The chat is lit. It's a great time going on over there. Shout out to Military Moves, Kayla and Max, who is holding it down with them. If you donate, I do want to make sure I remind anyone, if you donate, you want to screenshot it, and you want to send a message to Military Morphs to let them know that you donated. Otherwise, Kayla can't tally in the amount that you donated. Whether you're donating $1, whether you donate $100 or $1,000. Donate, support. If you can't donate $1, go hang out in the chat with the people in the community, and let's hold our brother up, because this is some amazing stuff he's doing right now, because I couldn't do it. Let me just tell you right now, I'd have quit on y'all probably 8 hours. 8 hours in, to be like, it's a wrap. And I'm not eating bugs. I'm not eating hot peppers. I'm not shaving off my hair. Not at this time, anyway, because I can get moody and shave it off, but not at this time. But I will tell you that I find what he's doing very, very amazing. And we need to be over there 100% just hanging in there with him. So when you go over there, tell him Nicole, Lady Tiz Exotic sent you, and we're going to support you, Jay. Give him all his kudos, show him all the love and all of that, because what he's doing is amazing. I can't wait to get off of here and see where he is. So thank you all for being always so supportive. Thank you for coming out. Our guest next week should be Wages Reptiles. I'll double check that, but I'm looking forward to interview him. And I am also working on a date for Reptile Bay. She is another one that I definitely wanted to bring on. One of the sisters in the community that I follow on Instagram, and she just recently had a good clutch. as well. Everybody in the chat, thank you, Darlene. Thank you. Hey, Kai. Thank you, Kai, for stopping by. I'm going to be out of here, and I'm going straight to Instagram as soon as I get upstairs. Peace. Love you all.